Hello, our dear viewers, and welcome to a new edition of Body and Soul. In today's edition, we are going to talk about the feeling of fear. What's the feeling of fear? Is it a common feeling that we should all experience? And to what extent this feeling is a natural one that we should accept? And when we should consider it as a disease or a problem that we should tackle? What is the difference between fear, the normal fear, and the phobias? And how a normal person could have a phobia from certain things in his life. Almost all of us experience the fear at some point of our lives. It is very common to feel a little anxious the evening before a long flight, for example, or feel dizzy when we go to a high floor for certain people. Almost all of us did experience these feelings. These feelings are most of the time temporary, and we do overcome these feelings most of the time. But for those living with the phobias, however, this unease becomes a persistence and all-consuming anxiety with the power to turn into an overwhelming panic that could create panic attacks and could lead to many problems that could paralyze us or cripple us to do many activities in life. To shed more light, we have the following report by Sameh Sharif.
What is the difference between fear and phobia? For starters, feelings of fear are very common. Diagnosable phobias are not. Phobias are a form of anxiety disorder and are characterized by intense and irrational fears of an object or situation that poses no real threat. Phobias come in three different forms. First, specific. This is when there is a specific object or situation causing such as dogs, heights, or flying. Second, social. These phobias revolve around social situations and are linked to social anxiety disorder. Third, agoraphobia. This phobia is fear of being in a place or situation that is perceived to be hard to escape from. These phobias go further than general fear, causing phobic people to constantly worry that they will encounter the object or situation that they fear. Time and energy is often used to actively avoid the object of fear, and if they do come across it, they endure high levels of distress, experiencing nausea, shortness of breath, and potentially even panic attacks.
Back, our dear viewers, as we have promised at the beginning of the show, that we are going to talk today about the feeling of fear. And what's here is the significant difference between fear and phobias. And do we all experience certain feelings of fear during our lifetime? And do we all experience also the feeling of only certain people do experience the feeling of having certain phobias from certain events or certain things in their lives. To shed more light, we are very much delighted to have with us in the studio our dear guest, Dr. Ines Al-Gazzar. She is a soft skills trainer and life coach. Hello, Dr. Ines.
Hello. Hello,
Dr. Ines, to start with, how would you define the feeling of fear?
Okay, fear can be, first of all, thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure to be here. Fear, you can consider it as a motive and an instinct. Okay. We have, as sociologists say, we have 17 instincts. 5 of them are basic. Hunger, thirst, sleep, sex, parenting, and one of the other 17 is fear. So fear is a basic instinct, okay,
yeah.
Or a natural instinct. It's a motive to do something. Okay? God gave us that to do something in our life. If we talk about the first human being on earth, they had the fear to defend themselves, to protect themselves from whatever they surround them in the nature. So as we have a straight line in everything in our life, a straight way, you can do that on the straight line, or you can do it excessively or less than the normal. So if we talk about the natural fear, it puts us on the straight line to do the actions and reactions in a normal way. But if it's excessive, it goes to the direction of having phobias. If it's less, it goes to the
natural fear.
Yeah, if it's less than the natural fear, it goes to the no reactions, no normal responses to things.
Which is not normal as well.
Yes, both of them are not normal. Yes, of course.
Is fear a natural feeling that we all do experience somehow in our lives, maybe daily in our lives? Because we might have fear from tomorrow, we might have fear from an exam, from work, from a dog maybe. Is it a normal feeling?
It's a normal feeling, but it's not normal to be daily. Because if you are in your comfort zone, surrounded by all the conditions that you are used to, it will not become a fear. It may be a worry or a bit stressful, but not to the limit of being fearful or being afraid. But if you go around or near to the borders of your comfort zone, yes, this may cause fear. Okay. People, if they have phobias and they know about their phobias, they also remain in their comfort zone, not exposing themselves to the factors that cause these phobias to happen, because their effects on them, they know how much it's really distracting their lives.
Are we capable of doing that, Dr. Inez? Because I do believe that at certain point, many people do experience the feelings of phobia. And I did see that a lot for people who are having phobias from plane, from excessive heights, from claustrophobic, from the closed areas. Can we stop ourselves from reaching the level of being or having phobias from these things, or that is a psychological thing that we should seek the help of an expert here?
Okay, thank you for the question. Let's say fear itself, it's a common feeling, okay? As I said, if it gives you the chance to do the fight or flight reaction that is caused by when we feel the fear, so we are under stress. So it causes us to release the adrenaline neurotransmitter. This helps us in the flight or fight. So I'm going to do a normal reaction. When it comes to phobia, it turns us to be diseased. So it's called disease, which comes from dis-ease. It's not easing your life. Let's say from where it comes. The natural feeling of fear is inside all of us.
Of course.
But some people are having this excessively, as we said, that causes phobia. This is related to also some chemicals in the human body, in brains, in the glands that release some hormones and neurotransmitters that may cause changes in some things in our brains. And
the chemistry of the brain.
Yes. So when, let's say from the first beginning, from our ancestors, okay, generations before us, as there is a word saying universal phobias. Universal phobias, as in your report, it was really an interesting one.
Yeah.
There are 3 types of universal phobias. The agoraphobia, the sociophobia, and the specific phobias. The agoraphobia is the phobia from places that you cannot take out yourself out.
Yes.
The sociophobia, when you are dealing with people, whether in interviews, when in gatherings, in talkings, or stage fright, as they say. Specific phobias like what you said, there is, their names are in Latin actually. Aviophobia is the fear of flying, acrophobia, fear of heights, felinophobia from cats. You will never imagine that there is a venostrophobia, which is a fear of beautiful women. So everything can cause the fear to be to an extent of being excessive, which is, subhanAllah, something very strange. But let's get back to the ancestor point. They experienced a certain kind of fear excessively. So it's in our genes, okay, that makes us respond to some things more than others and less than others.
Yeah.
So let's say in some families, when they have a kid that's having a phobia from cats forever, for example, you will find his grandmother saying, "Oh, you are like your uncle," or "You are like my father."
Even the fears are genetic?
Everything. So we have three factors affecting us. Genes, the period that we are in our mom's wombs, and what was your mother exposing through her pregnancy, and then the moment you were born and the environment surrounding us. So if it's in the gene, it gives the chance more than those who don't have it in their genes. If the period you are being a fetus in your mother's womb, she was relaxed and nothing was stressing her, this make the chance less to these in your genes. Then after birth, the surrounding environment causes us to be exposed more to the effect of that gene. Let's say it again. For example, if we have a gene of, for example, a blue eye, okay?
Yes.
So it will appear. This is, for example, a 100% genetic factor. But if we have the...
We are talking here about the physical stuff.
Yes, if we have a leadership trait in our personality, it comes genetically, it comes from the period of pregnancy, what was your mother exposed to, and the moment the father and mother knew about the pregnancy. Were they accepting that? Were they happy about that?
Does that also affect, Dr. Ines, the character and the genes of the child?
Definitely. These are having percentages. But of course, the higher percentage is for the environment we are exposed to after birth. Whether they are calming us, respecting our fears, giving us support and love and accepting whatever is happening there and giving us the support, or laughing at us, exposing us to that more and more without real support, without real treatment, which causes the damages afterwards.
So, Dr. Ines, to what extent the fear could impact our decision? To what extent my fear of getting out of my comfort zone or of doing real change in my life or whatsoever could affect my decision and hence could affect my life as a whole?
Okay, thank you. Again, the decision making is a kind of action we need to do in our life. So if the fear as it is at its normal range, it will do our work properly. Meaning, for a decision, you need to gain information, more details about the information, analyze these for information as the steps of making a decision, analyzing, processing, and finding alternatives and such things. If the fear is at its normal range, it causes us to do our work properly. But if it's at excessive ranges, it will cause us freezing. You know, phobia cause these phobic people to be freezed, not to do anything, no reactions, no normal reactions. So they delay
That's phobia, Dr. Ines, or also because if I'm afraid of getting out of my comfort zone, it's not a phobia, it's part of the character more. Right.
Yes, it is, but for phobic people from getting out of their comfort zones...
Is it a kind of phobia as well?
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, Franklin Roosevelt says, he said a very important sentence. He said, the only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
It's very true, by the way.
He was indicating a kind of fear which is called phobophobia, the fear of fear.
I do agree 100%.
Yeah.
Because fear is scary, actually. because of the fear, we could be totally crippled from doing many things in our lives. How can we beat our fear?
I mean, fear and grief. In Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He said, لا تخافي ولا تحزني. He said, never get grieved, never get sad, never get afraid to the limit of being scared or phobic, because this causes us paralysis.
Both do cause paralysis. If we talk sadness or grief, as you have kindly mentioned, and fear, both could lead us to be at our position, to have to freeze, to be in a status of standstill. So how can we face both, Dr. Inez, our fear and our grief as well?
Okay. By knowing what are the factors that causes me to be afraid or sad, let me say something. In treatments, first of all, you have to know that you have a problem, because many people do not know, they are not aware that there is a real problem about them. They say, okay, let me here. I don't want to be pushed. Let me be here. I'm okay in my comfort zone. Okay? So they are not aware of what's going on. So you have to be aware. You have to find a reason why to treat this fear and sadness. So being aware, and then what's in it for me? Why am I doing this? Why am I have the intention to get out of my fear zone and my sadness zone. So it has to be by three directions. Okay, because I liked your program name very much. It's Body and Soul. So it talks about what is inside us. 3 zones: mental zone, emotional zone, and behavioral zone. The mental zone, which I said before, about what is the problem. So I have to talk with myself to know what are the elements, what are the factors, and these things. So now I know what's the problem. What directs me to find a solution is the emotional part. Why am I doing this? What motivates me to get out of that? Which is so important. And then when the mental and the emotional parts are integral together, they help me very much to find a way behavioral. Previously, the psychologists found a way to systematic desensitization against phobias. For example, if I'm afraid or having a phobia from high places, they were very anciently, they used to take the patient or the one who is suffering from the phobia from his hand and going up to
a very high place.
Yes. But
is it a good solution?
Good results or very bad results, as the trauma will be multiplied. So I think before the behavioral treatment, you need to work on it emotionally and mentally.
Indeed. First, Dr. Inez will take with us over the phone Dr. Zainab Shaheen, our professor of sociology. Dr. Zainab, how are you? Dr. Zainab? Hello? Dr. Zainab? I'm afraid we do have a technical problem. Back to Dr. Inez. Dr. Inez, what about the phobias here that we do develop throughout our lives? Is it because of certain trauma, for example? You have just mentioned in the question before that could be generic, that could be because of the mom, that could be because of other elements. But to what extent the traumas that we might face in our lives, the problems that we do face, could cause us to increase our fear and may also develop certain phobias? Okay,
thank you for the question again, really. As I said before, if it's genetic, so one of our ancestors was being exposed to a certain trauma, so it was saved in the DNA as the computer, for example. Okay, then it's there. It's inside us. If the pregnancy period was relaxing and not stressing, and the mother was having a good condition while everything, and the delivery itself was okay and smooth and no problems there, so it remains dormant there, the trauma. After birth, if there is a small initiator, like a trigger for that phobia, it's like when you wake up something inside you, just touching them. When it's touched,
it's just a trigger.
Yeah, it activates.
Sorry, Dr. Ines, we'll leave it here and we'll be back to this point, but we have over the phone Dr. Zainab Shaheen. Dr. Zainab?
Yes.
Hello, Dr. Zainab, how are you?
Fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm fine. Dr. Zainab, we are talking here about the difference between fear and phobias, and what actually and how do we develop fear throughout our life experience?
Well, there are two types of fears, as you justly said. Creative fear, like creative anxiety, creative worry, creative fear. This kind of fear is justified. One has to, when it is risky, when the situation is threatening the individual one way or another. For instance, if some dog was unleashed and he happens to be wild or whatever.
Yes.
So this justifies your fear, or you're afraid that you might not pass the exam because you didn't study enough. So it motivates the individual to study and in order to get passing grade and so on. So it is justified. But there are other kinds of fears, which is I call phobic. Fear, it is not justified. It emanates from some psychological problems, some psychological, as I said, some psychological situations that the person did not, could not get out of it safely. For example, one is afraid that to ride elevators or to get into cars that of speed that is high speed, and or to get into the water to swim. So this is not justified. It has emanated from certain situations that give rise to this kind of phobic fear.
Yes. Dr. Zainab, to what extent the social elements could trigger the fear element inside us and could lead us also to have certain phobias as well?
What exactly you mean by this?
The social circumstances around us, how that could lead us to have an increasing level of fear?
When there is an increasing level of insecurity, lack of confidence, consistent threat to individuals in an environment that's not healthy. For example, screaming, a lot of the bambing, a lot of beating by parents towards children or neighbors. So this creates a lot of fear within individuals, and it grows with them.
Yes.
And so when a similar situation arises, this activates the fear.
Indeed, Dr. Zainab Shaheen, our professor of sociology, thank you very much for your precious input. And back to our dear guest in the studio, Dr. Ines Al-Ghazar. Dr. Ines, here we left at the point of what are the triggers of fear in our lives? What increased the fear in our lives throughout our different experiences?
Okay, let's say every forbidden is wanted. If you forbid the phobia from the kid, for example, it will insist on appearing. So if you expose him to whatever happens and see what's going on, you are giving him more chances to experience his life the way he is created for. Okay? If we see that he is really afraid of, for example, cats or dogs or something, so do not push the kid that much, because you are triggering, you are touching the anchor. You know, the anchor is something stored in our minds, that this will increase the level of adrenaline. Gives him the symptoms of the physical symptoms
Indeed.
of heartbeats increasing, heart rate, the breathing rate is increasing, the blushing of cheeks, the widening of the eye pupil, the symptoms of panic attack.
Yeah.
So you cannot push on that kid. You have to respect whatever happens. Do not laugh at him. Please do not do this.
We should be more understanding.
More understanding, more loving, more respecting. So if this happens, the very narrow circle we are putting him inside will be a bit more wider. So we are giving him chances to breathe more and not to be exposed excessively to that certain point. Then they say statistically 6% of people, phobic people, they seek help to treat themselves against these phobias. These are the people who are not paralyzed yet, who are still able to deal with themselves.
To face the fear.
And they found that 60% of phobic people only can remember the first times they were exposed to the trauma. So if they cannot remember that, they need certain help from certain professionals to find out what is inside the subconscious, because they cannot remember really. Mentally, they cannot remember. It's stored very deeply.
Indeed. Dr. Ines, to what extent we could be capable of facing our fears? What are the steps that you can give as a life coach for a person who comes to you who is suffering from an increasing level of fear, which is not a disease yet, or something that seeks the interference of a doctor? What are the steps here, very quickly, because we are running out of time?
Okay, it's a kind of concluding all what we have said. First of all, he has to be, or she has to be, aware of what is causing this phobia. Why is he there? Is he coming here to treat that or to deal with that? What are the motives? What's the? It's a mental work, and advantages and disadvantages to get. And then we work emotionally on what's inside the subconscious, and then we expose him very little, in a little steps to desensitize this trauma.
Dr. Ines Gazar, life coach and soft skills trainer, thank you very much for your first input.
Thank you, Mahisti.
And with that, our dear viewers, we come to the end of that edition from Body and Soul. Hope you have enjoyed it, and to meet again next week. I'm Mahisti Rabia Salma.